All right, everyone, welcome today. We're so excited that you joined us for our talk today about menopause. It is a serious thing that we're all going to have to face. And, sometimes it's just important to know that you're not going through this alone. And no matter what other people say, you're not crazy. You're not losing it. I promise. We can all relate in one way or another. So we're just so grateful that you joined us here today. And it's just going to be, our goal is just to have a candid conversation about menopause, about the stages of menopause, about the symptoms of menopause and the things that we're going through, and, how we've been feeling about it, and ultimately how we've been getting through it in a manner where we're not suffering as much as we could be if we haven't taken certain actions to help us get through it. So I just pray that you get good information out of this and that you're blessed, and that we can just kind of help with some clarity. And if nothing else, let you know that, you're not in this alone. Sorry. You're not in this alone, and that, it's okay, because I already know, just going through it myself and sometimes listening to the jokes that people will say, oh, yeah, I know what's going on here. And you're like, ah. So anyways, we're going to jump in. I luckily have some wonderful ladies joining in, participating in the conversation with me today. Hattie Shepard and Nicole Blaine and Jen Case. And we're just super excited that you guys are here. I'm super excited that you ladies are here just to help me talk through this and talk about our experiences with it. So I thought that maybe I'll just start off talking about the 3 phases of menopause and what it is. And I think between us, we are in our 40s and 50s. And so, we've got a little bit of experience, whether one phase or the other, going through this menopause thing. And just doing the research for this, I found out a lot of information about menopause that explains a lot from years ago when I had no idea what was going on with my body. So I was like, oh, so hopefully you guys will have some aha moments like that while we're talking today. So the 3 phases of menopause, in case you don't know, there's perimenopause, menopause, and then postmenopause. So this whole menopause thing can be going on for years. Years. I still have some ladies coming in. Awesome. So the perimenopause phase is what they call the transition phase. And this can start 8 to 10 years before menopause. So looking at information online at the Cleveland Clinic, the average for perimenopause is 4 years. So 4 years can seem like an eternity. I can't imagine 8 to 10 years before, but looking at some of the symptoms in my 30s, I was like, oh, that's what was happening. Okay. So it's, when the ovaries gradually start producing less estrogen, and it usually starts in the 40s, but it can start in the 30s as well. And I, for one, can say that I was starting in the 30s. Hattie, Jen, Nicole, do you guys remember anything like in your 30s, or was it later for you guys when you started just seeing symptoms?
Okay.
Do you? No, you go first.
In my 30s, I actually had a tumor in one of my ovaries, so I absolutely had symptoms. And I was just remembering that today, and I was probably like 35, and I did not know what in the world was going on with me. And it was a benign tumor. They removed it. It was all, it was great because it was not cancerous. But the symptoms were, it was like PMS 24/7. It wasn't just once a month, but it was like all month long. And nausea, which I had later again after the surgery. I kind of had a period of time that seemed more normal. And then again, when I went into perimenopausal time, which lasted 4 years, I felt like I was newly pregnant. And and I did not have good nutrition at that point either, so yeah, it was kind of nutty.
Wow. So you're 30, that's young. What about you, Nicole?
So thankfully, I've had good nutrition for about 20 years, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I started, the only symptom that I've experienced was hot flashes. And so, and that was new to me. And so
Yeah.
I remember I called a good friend, a lady I look up to that, went through it. And I asked her, what do I do? And she told me what I needed to put back into my diet and take more of, and I did, and it went away. So, my periods are regular now. I'm 48 years old, to let you know now. Everything is great. I feel amazing. Hot flash is gone. Yeah. So,
Jen, how about you? When did you start experiencing things?
Well, my story is a little different. I have, during my 30s, I never really experienced any, I'm Perry, by the way, now. I'm Jen,
Right.
but I'm in the middle of my Perry. But I think in my 30s, because, well, just to let you all know, and some of you, most of you know, but those of you that don't, addiction is part of my story. So in my 30s, I didn't know, I really couldn't differentiate between, what I was bringing on myself. I mean, my diet was poor, let me just tell you, because I also have an eating disorder past as well. So let me just tell you, I could be here all night, but I will say this. My 30s, I didn't really notice it. It's just been in the last year that I've really, really struggled and been kind of in denial. I'm like I'm 44, right? And it's kind of been a joke. And let me just tell you, since we're being truthful here. So I looked older, I guess, as a teenager, and I started, I'm not proud of this, but I lost my virginity at a young age. I started my period at a very young age. And it was always a joke. My sister and I, it was kind of like, it bothered her, to her disappointment. And I thought, well, one day this is going to catch up. So the other day we joked about the fact that, well, here, I'm going to go through menopause before you do. So you hold on, but I'll have to just, I struggled with whether or not I want to admit this, but the truth is I'm right smack dab in the middle of it. Right. Which is what led me to even being on this call, and God putting the three of you in my life and many others on this call is because of menopausal symptoms. And I'm thinking, and you think you're going crazy. So, but I'll add more to that. I mean, my symptoms, I'll share. The night sweats were a big part of it.
Yeah.
So
That's one of the things that I definitely see on the list of talking about the symptoms. So I'm Perry too. That's where I'm at, in the middle of Perry. And I would, Hattie and Nicole, are you Perry, Minnow, or Post?
You go first, Nicole.
my periods are regular every month. Trust me, I want to be
Wow.
done. I want to be done with it. But no, everything's great. I'm
Wow.
healthy, no vaginal dryness if we want to get, into the personal
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, and the hot flash is gone. But like
That's
I said,
awesome.
I found something to help me as far as changing my diet.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Incredible.
I'll keep you
I'm excited
posted.
to talk about that. Yeah. Hattie, what about you?
I am at the end. I'm coming up. I think they say menopause lasts about 10 years. Is that correct? I think that's about
It's 8 to 10 years is when it starts, but menopause is when you've experienced 12 consecutive months without a menstrual period, is what it says. 12 consecutive months. Yeah.
I've been longer than 12. I think probably about when I was 50 was when my periods, and before that, I was Nicole's age. I had very irregular periods, and I thought I was pregnant a few times, and I was super excited because that's how nutty I am. Oh, you're doing that, but it's like, oh yay!
I'll add to that.
The first time was when my first granddaughter was in the womb, when Renee was pregnant, and she came and she and Phil came and told me that they were expecting, and I'm like, oh no, this is going to be like Father of the Bride all over again. But, And I was excited and so was she, but I felt kind of weird because it kind of would take something away from a new grandbaby or a grandbaby, first grandbaby. But anyways, I wasn't, but I experienced all of those symptoms. I felt nauseated. My period stopped, and that went on for a while. But what ended up happening, there was an older lady at our church, and she said, I know what's going on with you. And she just took me aside and she said, this will last for a few years and then you'll go into menopause. And I was so appalled that I was already there. And, but like I said before, at that point, my nutrition, I wasn't taking any kind of supplements. I was just trying to get everything from my food because I thought I could get everything from my food. And anyhow, but as it came on, the night sweats were so bad, and it started right at 6 o'clock. We'd be out eating dinner and I would just put my hand on the window, just close to the window, not even touching the window would fog up because there was so much heat pouring off of my body. And it was bad. And I had something, so just in case you younger gals have experienced this, itchy scalp. I just knew for sure I had something going on, had Frank look through my hair numerous times. That's also a symptom, itchy scalp. Finally, I Googled it. I'm like, itchy scalp, menopause. Sure enough, it's a perimenopausal symptom. And that was crazy. That drove me. That was probably one of the worst things. So, and then they went away.
Wow. That's incredible. It's funny because I know that, of course, we're all different and we're all going to experience different things, but you've even mentioned a couple things that weren't even on my list that I found of the symptoms that you can suffer from. So.
Another emotional symptom, like, we have our ups and downs, but I had this wanting to run away feeling. And it was overwhelming. Like that was a big deal. And I don't know if part of it is because there was a lot of changes in my life during that time. All my 4 out of the 5 kids had gotten married, moved out, etc. I just had my disabled daughter, and she herself was going through stuff. And I just remember feeling, and this is so sad to say, but I just felt so trapped. And I wanted to run away. And I remember just feeling and being angry with Frank because he could drive away and go to work, poor guy. And it's like, I can't leave my house, And so I don't know if that just played into it, but I know other people told me that they also had that running away feeling. And the importance in that for me is, I mean, I just came to the conclusion, I think the Lord just put it in my heart. Okay, these feelings, what I'm feeling is just not real. I need to not let my feelings govern me. And so I got through that part, but I still didn't have the answers with nutrition at that point. So
yeah.
Anyways.
That's awesome. Okay, so just to go over the other ones really quick, we touched on menopause where it says you experience that, and it says 12 consecutive months without a menstrual period. And then some women can go through it early, of course, with conditions. Like Hattie said, you had a tumor for a little while there, and then removal of ovaries can throw you into it early. But menopause that occurs before the age of 45, regardless of the cause that says, is still called early menopause. And menopause that occurs at 40 or younger is considered premature menopause. So Hattie, you touched on something which I just love, the fact that someone in your church was willing to take you aside and say, this is what's going on. Because honestly, I can't tell you how, this is valuable to me learning from you guys, because I can't tell you that anyone ever took me aside and was like, oh, and then this is going to happen and it's going to be normal and it's okay. So, I think it's important for us to know that, because literally we could think we're losing our minds and we're crazy. And why am I forgetting everything? And why am I squirreling? And oh yeah, it's, whew, okay.
Well, I'll chime in if you'll humor me.
Yeah.
Just because you said, we need that person in our life who's going to come alongside us, whether we know them or whether we don't. For me, I have 2 moms. I've had a few mother-in-laws, really good mother-in-laws too. But my two moms, I never got to see either one of them go through menopause. My mom was 22, 23 years old when she had a full hysterectomy. And I didn't need to get on the phone with my mom because I know her story, but I asked my stepmom this morning, I said, I don't recall you ever having any, real hot flashes or just, and so for me, I don't really have anything to bounce it off of. Of course, I wouldn't think it was that I was peri. And let me just tell you, if this is peri, I don't want to meet like, I don't want to go in the next season, but Hattie said something about thinking that she was pregnant. I can't tell you how many pregnancy tests I've taken just in the last 4 years that I've been remarried. And we joke around, I've got 3, we're a blended family, people were like, you're crazy to have 6 kids, and that's, my thing is I take this pregnancy test and then all of a sudden it's like, I think it's a mental thing, I take this pregnancy test and all of a sudden I start my period, but thankfully, my story, and I will say this, and I won't spend too much time on it, but mine, being that I'm perimenopausal, I joke, I make fun of myself a lot, and that's how I met Nicole Blaine. I would be doing myself and my savior a disservice by not saying this, but that's how I met my sweet friend. And that's how I met the two of you, is that she walked into a coffee shop that I was working at, my family's coffee shop. And I made a joke about being premenopausal so much that I put it in her phone as premenopausal.
Yes,
Mommy, and she won't change it, and so the truth is, it's a lot of it was what I had done to my body and what I wasn't giving my body, but I didn't have anything to bounce it off of, so I wouldn't have guessed that it was that these night sweats. I mean, y'all, it was bad. It was where my husband was, and bless his heart, here it goes with the whole manual thing, but like he would have to put me on his side of the bed and he'd lay a towel down, and then he would, and it was ringing, and I, like I said, I have an addiction past, so I could only associate that with like withdrawals of some sort. So I'm thinking, how is this possible? How am I going through this? But, we need friends to come alongside us and say, hey, this is what you don't know. This is what you don't know about nutrients. Because I'll tell you what, in my life, healthy was like skinny and pretty. And you've heard me say this before. And that's not the case. You can eat right. You can try to look right and go to the gym and all this stuff. But if you're not getting proper nutrients, forget about it. Forget about it. And the itchy scalp. Oh, Hattie, the itchy scalp. No, I kid you not. Just the other night, I said to Matt, I'm like, I think I might have lice. And he, he looked at me like, where on earth would you possibly get lice? Like that's, and I've had lice like when I was little, but thank you for saying that. I'm here on this panel. God knows why. I think it's because I'm Perry, but I'm here to learn because I need help. I need help with this. I know it's not a quick fix. I'm in a season, so y'all help me.
Well, it's true.
We'll all be able to
Like,
help each other.
You feel like you're going crazy. That is a real deal that happens, and you just have to say, okay, I let the Lord ground you, but just tell yourself, I'm not going crazy, and it must be something deficient, and look for that. Look for, the things that would create that create the crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's something
crazy.
So then that post-menopause period, which you would think, okay, my periods have stopped and everything's fine, I should be going back to normal now. It actually says it's generally you can continue to experience menopausal symptoms for a decade or longer after menopause transition. Help us, Jesus. That's what I have to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a long time that we can be facing this. So I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to read off symptoms. There's symptoms here for transitioning into menopause, and then some things that some women face. So I want everyone on the call to think about and just count in your head. And then after I go through all of them, I want you, if you could, in the chat, just type how many. You don't need to tell us which ones you've experienced, but tell us how many of those symptoms that I read off that you experienced, okay? So women who are transitioning into perimenopause may experience breast tenderness, worsening of premenstrual syndrome, irregular or skipped periods, periods that are heavier or lighter than usual. And then as you begin to move in menopause, can be hot flashes, night sweats or cold flashes, vaginal dryness or discomfort during sex, difficulty sleeping, emotional changes, which is irritability, mood swings, mild depression, dry skin, dry eyes or dry mouth, bladder control or urinary urgency. And then some women may also experience racing heart, headaches, joint and muscle aches and pains, changes in your sex drive, difficulty concentrating, memory lapses, weight gain, hair loss or thinning. So what's your number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18 is how many I read off. How many of those have you experienced? And then we'll see. I'd just like to see, because we're not all crazy. So we have one says 8. Wow. 18.
Me too, Sylvia.
Oh, 18 symptoms. That's all of them. Wow. Okay. 4, and the memory loss. Memory loss is bad. Yeah, I get that. That's what I think we were talking before it started, and I said that's the squirrel. Yep. You just are just like, I come down here to what did I come down here for? Like, what? Shoot, what did I like? It's frustrating. So, any particularly that stood out in your mind, Nicole? What do you think?
So I talked about the hot flashes, and then I forgot when you mentioned one of them. I'm like, oh yeah, I had that. So definitely the brain fogginess or memory issue, and then the other one was heavy periods. So during that time when I had hot flashes, I remember I was having heavy periods, and it scared me. I remember we had a scientist come in and speak in our small little town. This was in Chewelah, Washington. And I had to get up there and, introduce myself and whatnot. And I remember sitting down going, whoa, it feels like I wet my pants, And I went home that night. This is so embarrassing, but went home, literally bled through my pants.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, it was that bad. And I'm like, Alan, I was telling my husband, Alan, I don't know what's going on. So that's when he said, you need to call so-and-so, our friend, a woman that's been through it. And that's when I made that call. So,
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it scared me.
Yeah.
My mom never told me, this is what you're going to go through. This is what you're going to experience, because everyone experiences different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's true. I never, like, when I was a kid, I say like a young teenager, my periods were so heavy and so painful and so awful. Gosh, I wish I would have known then how to take care of myself. But as I got older and had children, I would maybe 3 days, and I could get away with a liner, and that was it. And then once this kicked in, and you go 2 or 3 or 4 months without a period, and then suddenly you have one again, like literally, I think I told Hattie a couple of weeks ago, I was like, listen, you have to help me. Like, I've been bleeding for 2 weeks. What is wrong with my body? Like, so it's crazy the way that it changes. Like, so, and either one of you girls want to chime in on any of those things that stuck out in your mind?
No? I did want to chime in. Well, I'll just tell you that all of mine, I got 10. My biggest thing, and I guess I didn't really know the whole exaggerated PMS. I should have known by, my teenage years. And I remember just being with my fiance at the time in the fetal position, and him calling my mom. This was many years ago, and him saying, you know, I don't know what to do. She's like, I mean, you know, and so I should have known, like, just the periods were going to be heavy, and you know, and I'll share this. I don't think Nicole will mind me sharing this, you know, with well, Alan Blaine, as you know, married to this beautiful friend of ours, and having 5 girls. You know, they joke about, and we have a lot of inside jokes, as you all know, you know, just when you're real with each other and you build these real relationships, you know, this real stuff comes out, you know. And we joke about, Alan said he had some app, you know, he's got some menstrual cycle app, and as he should, right, with all these women in his home, like estrogen overload, right? And so my husband jokingly, he was like, well, I don't need the app. He's like, I am the app. You know, he said he's the app. He can always tell so much. That just 2 days ago, as I'm flipping my pen around, 2 days ago, I told him, I said, well, babe, I said, I'm getting ready to start my period. And he said, oh no, you're 2 days out. He said, like he knows, you know, when I'm going to start my period. But anyways, you know, I should have known, just now in hindsight, looking back and stuff, on my period and all that stuff. But y'all, the night sweats are the real deal for me. You know, when you're not getting a good night's sleep, you know, when you're not eating right. I mean, and someone joked around the other day, they were like, well, your husband better invest in either some really good supplements or a good straitjacket. And I thought, oh, stop, that's not, you know, but the struggle, you know, the struggle is real. So
No kidding. Sometimes I feel so sorry for our husband. Huh.
Yeah. I just want to jump in here. Sylvia said that the irregular heart rate was the worst. Boy, golly, have I had that. And another thing that I have had is angina, you know, the pain.
Oh, wow.
Do you have, Sylvia? Have you had that? Okay. So about 15 years ago, my dad and my brother, and we have a congenital heart defect. The mitral valve messes up, you know, and so both my brother and my dad had to have that repaired. And what the surgeon said, all of you need to go, because then another brother was diagnosed with it. All of you need to go and have a stress test of your heart, and to make sure you don't have that going on. And so I went, and during the stress test, the doctors, because I'm young, you know, well, I guess it's all perceived young. I was like 40 something, 42, 43, but yeah, I felt young, you know. He's like, why are you in here? And I said, well, the surgeon said. And so he was looking at my heart, and he's like, tell me symptoms that you've had. And I said, well, when I was having lots of babies, I used to have this rapid heartbeat. And he said, and he just started asking me some questions, and he told me, oh, he said, that was probably hormone related. And he said, don't be surprised if when you start going into menopause, the perimenopausal, that you do have that again. And sure enough, like clockwork, it just, once I started having these other symptoms I recognized, the more common ones, hot flashes, whatever, the more common ones, I also had this rapid heartbeat thing again. And it just, you feel like you're going to pass out. Now, the things that contribute to that, because there are things that we have, you know, certainly supplementation can lessen those symptoms for sure. And also making sure that you have a good electrolytes. Like I actually have to make sure I have enough salt in my diet, because I run low sodium. So, so that's important. Also, and it's good salt, not just, you know, regular iodized salt.
and Nicole and I can attest to that. She brings her own tube of salt when we go to supper. Right.
True.
Right. She gets in her purse, and she brings out her.
It's kind of tricky.
Alan's
But
the salt lover. Oh my goodness. He just pours
yeah,
salt. Dude.
We salt our salt.
yes. When we perspire a whole bunch, your electrolytes get all off. And so I've noticed when I run or exercise and perspire, then I have to make sure I drink water, a lot of water, but you can't just drink straight water. It's one of those things. Salt is really important, but I will say 100%, the thing that has helped both me and my sister is the multi-mins. It's a mineral complex and some calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D. My gosh, it has been so incredibly helpful. So when I back off that, I get leg cramps. So if you understand, a heart is a muscle. So did any of you, that's another symptom actually, anybody experience that? Oh man.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Every night. It's just started. And I will tell you this multi-min, whatever you're talking about, whoever's on the call, myself included, I need to know about this, because both Gabby and Micah, and I think they're on the call right now, they've asked me, they were like, well, how much multi-min do you take? And I'm like, what? I take a multivitamin, so anyways, I need information, and because that's a big deal, whatever you're talking about, because the leg cramps and everything, that was concerning to me.
It's awful. So that's what actually, I mean, I had the same thing as you. And I also had, when I would come under any kind of stress, pain in my heart, then that was cramping. That's what that is. It's like a cramping situation. So the importance of, that I see Jenny saying CalMag and Epsom salt, those are important things. So
it's funny too, because one of the things when I was reading says that foods that you should avoid, salt was on the list, and I was like, that can't be right, because I need salt, because I'm the same way. Like, my sodium is low, and if I don't eat salt, forget it.
Right.
So I was like, we ain't talking about that. We need salt in our diet.
Why they have the sodium on the list and why sodium has had such a bad rap is because people eat so much processed food, and it's sodium in that, and it's a bad kind. I mean, Frank and I buy our salt online. We just don't even, we get a real clean salt. And so anyways, and Frank's a foodie, so he likes a particular kind of salt.
Well, maybe if you know the name of it, maybe you could share that in the chat with the rest of us, because I would love, because here's my 44-cent thing of salt that I buy at the store. And I know that's not fabulous, but if I don't have salt, food don't taste right and I don't feel good. So I need to have salt. So I'd love to know what you're doing for that too, even though we're not branding anything today during our call. So if anyone send you on the call and you're interested in what we're doing, don't hesitate to reach out to us and we'll let you know, because we're just here to give some information today. But so a couple of those symptoms we talked about was concentration, forgetfulness. That's the squirrel that happens to all of us. Well, not to all of us, to some of us. Depression. Our body can go through a lot of changes during menopause, and depression and anxiety can be part of those things. So you're not crazy. I mean, that could be a part of the menopause that you're going through. Emotional changes, which includes lack of energy or insomnia, lack of motivation, difficulty concentrating, anxiety, depression, tension. Maybe that's Hattie's runaway factor, like she just wanted to get out. Headaches. I've had maybe 4 headaches my whole entire life. And this last period that I told you about that lasted like an eternity, I had a headache with it. So that's interesting that's on the list. And aggressiveness and irritability. I can't imagine any of y'all being aggressive and irritable. My husband would say different, right? We're all pointing to self. So hot flashes that we've been talking about is one of the most common things. And I think that's one of those things where we start doing this. Everybody knows what's going on, and the husbands start making fun of us because they're like, oh, it's one of those things going on again. But it's serious. It's legit, but they can look so different for some of us. Some of us, it's a red flushed face. Some of it's sweating, like Hattie said, she had heat coming off of her, a chilled feeling after the heat. Hot flashes can look different for all of us. And then there's some things that said to look for triggers of hot flashes, which it's caffeine. Caffeine made hot flashes worse. And one study said that caffeine helped with hot flashes. So that's always a good thing to know your body. And, you know, if suddenly the caffeine is affecting you, that's probably a thing that you should lay off of. But if it's not, have your coffee, have your green tea. It'll be fabulous. You'll be fine.
I'll add
spicy foods, alcohol, tight clothing, it says is one of the things that can trigger a hot flash. Even stress or anxiety, it says, can trigger a hot flash. So working outside in the hot weather, smoking, being overweight can actually make hot flashes worse. So it says researchers conclude that hot flashes were worse for women with overall poorer health. So that's kind of scary right there, which is kind of an incentive to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Because I know I have struggled a lot with being overweight in the past because I love food. And I don't think there's anything wrong with loving food. We just have to make better choices in the foods that we love. So
I think caffeine was a big shocker for me because, you know, I had eliminated a bunch of stuff, you know, the alcohol I was able to put on the shelf. And but I remember when I met Nicole and we were talking about different symptoms, and you had asked me, well, what about caffeine? And I was never really a big coffee drinker, but we met at my sister's coffee shop. So I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I think I am drinking a little more caffeine, but I had no idea that would, you know, that would, and aspartame was a big thing for me. And I just have to say this because my sister always she'd go, oh, can I have a sip of that? And, oh, it has aspartame in it. And I just drank it because it didn't give me headaches like it gave her headaches. But as I'm learning more about just health and nutrition and stuff, I'm realizing like, golly, aspartame is not, you know, I've put a lot of that in my, and my dad, bless his heart, he loved that Crystal Light, you know, and I know we're not trying to, and I do, and I still struggle, you know, I still want it. I'm sure people on this call, like some people love Diet Coke, you know, mine was a Diet Dr. Pepper every now and again. And it's like, I didn't realize how that stuff was affecting me. Even though even when I drank, even once a month, you know, I can tell that it would start affecting me. So,
you know, that's interesting too, because the next thing that it says to go into, of course, it's, you know, if you're having symptoms of menopause, you can go and ask your doctor about taking prescription medications. But honestly, when you're already having side effects, if you would, of menopause, do you really want to go get on a prescription medication that's going to give you other side effects? Not me. I'm just saying, not me. I'd rather, you know, get through this as natural as possible. And one of the things that it's saying is the best way to get through menopause and all these symptoms is in your diet. So let's just go over a couple things that for sure that all of the sources that I looked at says to avoid, and then we'll move into things that you should for sure have in your diet, which just blew me away when I read it. So the things that it says to avoid for sure that was across all of the places and the sources that I looked was added sugars. And the key there is added sugars and processed carbs. Super crazy. It says added sugars are known to raise our blood sugar rapidly. Of course, there might be sugar in our food, but if it's natural sugar and it has fiber attached to it, your body works totally different with that sugar than it does with added sugars that are hidden in everything. It's crazy. And then the more processed the food is, the more pronounced its effect is on our blood sugar. So we really have to be careful with added sugars. Their recommendation is if you're on a 2,000 calorie diet, then only 50 grams should come from added sugars. But I still kind of feel like that's high. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I'm like, that's a lot of sugar. So, and then here's something that I'm just going to throw out there as a little nugget. My husband and I watched on YouTube, there is a documentary called Fed Up. if any of you have seen it, and it talks all about sugar and the hidden sugars that are in our food. Mind blowing, like mind blowing. We started watching this documentary, and after that, he was pulling out all of his snacks that he's been looking at, and he was like, look, added sugar, added sugar, added sugar, added is in everything. So you really have to be careful, and it is that total sugars, and then the added sugars is what you really want to watch out for. So limit your intake of added sugars, processed foods, which is white breads, crackers, baked goods, high fructose corn syrup, agave syrup, all of those things during menopause you need to watch out for. So added sugars and processed carbs. The number 2 thing that it said, because it threw that in one category, but the second one is alcohol and caffeine, which we kind of talked about a little bit already. Some studies have shown caffeine and alcohol can actually trigger hot flashes in women going through menopause. And then another study showed that alcohol intake increased the severity of the hot flashes. So not only can alcohol trigger your hot flashes, but it can increase the severity of hot flashes. And then some studies were different. Some showed that caffeine can help. Some showed that caffeine makes them worse. So that's, again, just knowing your body. I drink coffee probably more times a day than I should, but I don't have a problem with coffee. So, and I don't drink alcohol, so I don't know about that one, but there's that. If any of you guys have anything you want to throw in, you're welcome to. Processed, and high sodium. This is where it said high sodium or spicy foods as well. I don't think I could live without either one of those things, and I would almost be willing to deal with the hot flashes rather than give up my hot spicy food.
I was going to say, you need to speak on that, because this Spanish girl here, I can't do hot, and I know you can't get stuff hot enough. So
I can't get it hot enough. Like, I'm not satisfied unless I eat something and my mouth is burning when I'm done.
Yeah, unless your nose is running and you're crying.
That's
I
the
don't
truth.
know. I could be jumping the gun, Stace, but I will say, I don't know if I missed this. I'm sorry if I seem out to lunch, but I will, medications, that was a big thing for me. And, I've been on Zoloft for over 10 years. Sometimes I've been on 200 milligrams. Sometimes I'd be on, 50. And, I will say I'm on less these days, but, I was really kind of surprised that when I had my third boy, I was having some serious postpartum stuff, which is why they gave me, first they tried me on the Xanax, and this alcoholic, that didn't work for this alcoholic at the time because I couldn't drink as much, and so then they were like, well, let's try you on some Klonopin. And it was just like, it just amazes me that never, ever in my 30s and even into my 40s did I, it's always, well, here, let's slap a synthetic drug on it, and never knowing what I'm lacking, and thinking, because for the most part, I eat well. I thought I did anyways, fruits and vegetables and stuff. And, but anyways, I could go on and on about slapping a, antidepressant on stuff, or even, there's always kind of a, an answer for that. But I'm grateful for God's garden. I'm grateful that because of y'all, I'm learning how to get back to my roots and get back to eating right, and that processed stuff, things that I can't avoid. So that's that's a trigger for my hormones,
I love how you just said God's garden, and you're so right about the prescription medications, because putting that synthetic stuff in, you don't know what underlying harm that it's doing that you're going to have to face in the future. So I think God's garden is exactly the place that we need to be going through this.
Oh yeah. And the other thing too, is sleeping meds. Sleeping meds were a big thing. Like I was on sleeping meds for 15 years, and today I don't take anything to sleep. I think I know a lot of that has to do with, my sleep isn't impeccable, but a lot of that has to do with just my peace and surrender and joy found in Jesus Christ. I get to lay my head on my pillow with a lot less stress these days, because I've been through a lot, and most of you know that. But I think that it all kind of comes back around. What you eat, for me, if I lay down at night and I've eaten something specific, like, you know, and I hate to get graphic, it's like, I even Googled today, I'm like, the whole vinegar smell, you know, when you, as a woman, when you like, I'm like, what is that? You know, I'm a big kombucha girl, as Nikki will tell you, I'm a big kombucha girl. I'm like, well, I know I drank a kombucha. That's kind of big, you know, I'm like, but these things about menopause that we would have never known. And I, you know, I opened up my Bible and it says sharing together. And I thought, you know, especially if you don't have a village of women that have either gone through it before you or they're in the midst of it, because you do. I looked at Matt a couple weeks ago and I said, I think I'm going crazy. I said, I said, honestly, like I grabbed him. I said, I really think I'm going crazy. Something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me. And he goes, there's nothing wrong with you. It's this, you know, he's like, we're going to get your hormones in balance, you know, and it is, I do everything one day at a time, you know. It's like, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm grateful for you ladies that can guide me.
Well, you know what too, which I say to my husband, I'm like, people, we didn't get sick overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So unless, you know, maybe Nicole, who's been blessed to have know and have had good nutrition in her body for 20 years, it may take you and I a little bit longer for our bodies to get in sync with all the good nutrition that we're putting in because of the stuff that we put in it before.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
you know,
and here's the other thing I just want to tell you too, like, I wouldn't know without Nicole sharing this kind of stuff with me. And I'm not the fortunate one, you know, that has known about good whole food nutrition, you know, and I feel like that's why it's my duty to share it with someone else, because, you know, whether it's your exaggerated PMS, whether it's anxiety, depression, no matter what it is, if it's my story, unfortunately, I never thought it'd be the whole premenopausal mommy thing, but I guess that's my story and I'm sticking to it. I might need to write a book.
you probably should, because you never know, other people are going to be blessed by your story and knowing, and it's going to help them to realize that they're not crazy because you got through it. So I love this so much. So I mean, this is the funny part. Okay, so as I'm researching all this stuff for menopause, and I'm like, okay, so I shouldn't do this. This is what I'm going to feel. This is what I'm going to go through. This is what I'm going to have to just pray to my Jesus to help me through this. But what do I do? Like, what can I do to in a positive mindset? And I was reading through this on the websites, and everything that it told me to make sure that I added to my diet is everything that I've been adding to my diet. And thank you to you ladies in the community that we have. You've shared this stuff with me. And I'm just like, I literally had to laugh out loud. And I was telling the ladies before we started, I was like, God is so good, because this is literally stuff that we've been adding to our diet through the years. And luckily, you know, someone was sweet enough to share it with me. And now I feel so much better for it, because I can tell you, going through this perimenopause, there was a period when I was having hot flashes. I would go to study, and I remember sitting there and just grabbing my shirt and just, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, ladies. I'm just so sorry. And I didn't know how to act. And then, Jen's going to share a little bit on one of the products that it says that one of the products that we take, which is meeting the qualifications that it says to add to our diet. And as soon as she told me, I started taking that, and I have not had a hot flash since 2 days into taking that. So God's garden is amazing. So the first thing that it says we should add to our diet is healthy fats, which is very interesting, because one of the things that we do, and I will say we, considering the four of us that are, you know, doing most of the talking on this call, are is having a good omega-3, because it says healthy fats such as omega-3 fatty acids may benefit women going through menopause. And studies will showing that omega-3 has decreased the frequency of hot flashes and the severity of night sweats. And it's also good for cardiovascular health, because going through menopause gives us an increased risk of heart disease because of our hormones changing. And so that makes me feel comfortable because of one of the products that we're taking, the whole food nutrition. It's salmon oil, but it's the omega-3, but it's all 8 of the omegas. It's not like you're going to the store and you're buying a regular fish oil or omega, which most of them only have, you know, two of the 8 omegas in them. When this one has all 8, And then most of the omegas that you take are only tested for like 4 contaminants, when ours, the one that we take, is tested for like 200. So because there is not just 4 contaminants in this world. So this is like super ultra pure. And then another book that I'm reading right now just talked about omega-3s and how important they are, and how to tell if your fish oil is bad. And so I could share, I don't want to take up too much time sharing that, but it's very interesting. Like going to Walmart and buying fish oil, most of it's rancid.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna say that. I mean, just because, and there's a way to, I see Hattie like shaking her head, but there he was even saying like, you know, cut it open, look at it, and you can pretty much tell that it's not good. If it's cloudy, you should not be putting that stuff into your body. So I'm just happy to say that we're lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to have an omega-3 fatty acid that is serious. Yeah, no fish burps. Exactly, Elizabeth. And then the other thing is phytoestrogens, which is good. Phytoestrogens and healthy fats such as omega-3s. Also, phytoestrogens includes soybeans, chickpeas, peanuts, flaxseed, barley, grapes, berries, plums, green and black tea, and then many more. So that's good. The name of the book is actually called Food Sanity. Someone was asking Food Sanity, and I've got it on Audible, and it's an extremely long book, but it is like jaw dropping listening to it. So that's one of the reasons why I'm being a vegetarian. I'm just saying. But it's very good. So that's just fascinating. So healthy fats, and we have a good one. The next one that it talked about us taking, which Jen will tell us more, is whole grains, lipids, and sterols, because we're missing that from our diets, because we think we're going out and buying a loaf of bread with whole grains, but it's been processed so much and stripped that it's not actually what we're getting. And we're lucky enough to have a product that's helped with that, which is what Jen shared with me and why I don't have hot flashes anymore.
And which is what Nicole shared with me. So it kind of trickles, it trickles down. You just gotta, a lot of stuff. I feel like the biggest thing is for us to share our experience, strength, and hope, and so often we keep quiet because we're kind of embarrassed. I don't want to admit that I'm waking up in puddles of sweat, but I know that there's a solution because someone that loved me enough shared it with me, and so I feel like we would do that for others.
Awesome. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about how wonderful and the benefits of that product?
Absolutely. I'll try to keep it short. Those of you that know my story.
You're telling us about a good one though. So this is a good, this is
I
like,
know.
this is, oh,
I know,
yeah.
I know. And I'm telling you, gosh, long story short, I'm a singer dancer from Los Angeles, California. I don't know anything about, I don't have a medical degree, and science was not my thing. But when I met Nicole, there was so much going on, but all I could remember her saying is she said, well, your body's just deficient in whole grain concentrates. It's called treonine. And so again, inside jokes galore, but something about a tree, right? Treonine in Latin is 3 in 1. And so within 3 days, my night sweats were gone. And so after 6 months of being on this product, I just, was able to tell people like, this is how I feel. And now that I'm understanding, this product, these whole grain concentrates that started as a government study in a Hollywood Presbyterian hospital. And I'm learning so much about this. Like it's the, cellular nutrition, and I'm guilty. I mean, there was times that I'd go to Whole Foods and I'd spend $80, hundreds of dollars really on nutrient, vitamins. And, you try to eat right and you try to cook right and you try to do all these things. And I'm learning now that none of that really matters unless you have good cellular function. So I knew that my cells weren't working properly. You can provide all the nutrients you want to your body, but if your cells aren't working properly, then it doesn't metabolize into nutrition. So for me, I've learned now, years and years of taking different vitamins and supplements, I'm learning that if I was given a choice, and this isn't based on my opinion or whatever, this is based on true fact and research and science. If I was given one supplement to take that was the most important supplements beyond, vitamins and nutrients, it would be these whole grain oils, right? What drives us to keeps us going the next day, happy, sad, laughter, all this stuff, emotions, energy, sleep, is our hormones. And I can't manipulate that with food. I can't manipulate it. I tried years with alcohol, but I'm saying like hormones are key. And now I'm really realizing I can't live without this treanin, so if you want more information about the treanin, but I will, it's something about a tree. And that's what's changed my life. It brought friendships in my life. And it's like, Nicole didn't try to sit me down and sell me on a bunch of products. She just basically said, hey, have you ever heard of these whole grain concentrates? And in my mind, I think I'm getting them because, I like 21 grain Dave's bread, but we don't realize that all that stuff is extracted. And now I get to put it back in my body. And it hasn't been overnight, but I will say this, cellular nutrition is key. It's key for hormones. It's key for all of it, even in men. So, but we'll just leave it with us women because that's who's on the call today.
and just
well,
optimizing
Bill's here. Bill's here,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you, I will say this, Bill, and Bill always talks about having a men's panel, but it would be interesting to hear men get together and talk about us women, and the emotional, men
Amen
need
to
the
that.
support. Men need the support just as much as we do,
They do. They do. It's true. So
Amen.
Matt would be here if he could.
Oh, that's funny. So yes, thank you for sharing that. That product is amazing. I mean, optimizes our cell function. So healthy stuff gets in, the bad stuff gets out, because without that, we're just a clogged mess on the inside. So, the next thing that they said that we should be taking is fruits and vegetables, which again made me crack up because it's one of the things that we are supplementing ourselves with, and it says 2 to 5 cups daily, and that could be a lot, especially considering life and all that stuff going on. But we have a wonderful way that we've been able to get in fruits and vegetables packed with all kinds of stuff, carotenoids, cruciferous, and all that kind of stuff. And I've asked Hattie to actually touch on that a little bit today and talk about the benefits of that one.
Oh, I love it. It's one of my favorite products. Actually, there's quite a few that are my favorite because the salmon oil lowered my cholesterol, which is another symptom that I did not know. In addition to weight gain, cholesterol shoots through the roof. So if that happens to any of you girls, don't think you're going to, need a bypass surgery. It's related to menopause, but salmon oil helps with that. So anyhow, so recommended daily allowance is like 5 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables. And so, anyways, they've upped it and it's incredible. So for optimal health, most people don't get that, and if you're a person that's gained any weight and decided, hey, I'm going to try to do this keto thing, well, you're not going to get it on keto, sure. And that was kind of my story. I started having these weird body changes, and gosh, I'm jogging, but I this 15 pounds, and it doesn't matter how far I ran, it wasn't going to come off, and my cholesterol's up, and I was so bummed out, and I felt kind of hopeless, to be honest with you. Anyways, this particular this is a tool for us to get our supplements, the carotenoid complex. It's amazing. It's an amazing product. And there's a lot of carotenoids on the market, girls. There's just tons. And, but what we have found out, a gal has done, a nurse in our group has done this research on the other carotenoids, and she's not found one from food. It's from the foods that we eat. It's mostly from marigolds and algae. And so that's kind of eye-opening. And the reason why that's significant is because our bodies are absorb foods that that we eat. I mean, that's within our food chain, I guess, if you will. So it's important that you get stuff from the foods that we eat. Our carotenoids are that. It supplies like over 250 pounds in the bottle of our brand. It's amazing. 250 pounds of raw. This is important because when you cook things, nutrients are also pulled out. Now it's interesting because if you're looking for iron, if you semi-cook iron, it actually enhances the iron and our absorption of it, our ease of absorbing. But this company has always made it about easy absorption in general. And so what's in our little carotenoid complex is so quickly and easily absorbed. And it's an amazing product. So over 15 powerful carotenoids, there's many more carotenoids, but again, this is from the foods that we eat. And anyhow, I can't say enough. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and I would have thought that I was getting enough in my diet. But this is pretty significant. This was tested by the USDA at the CDC, and it was proven to boost immunity 37% in just 20 days. And so nowadays, when we're looking to boost immunity, let me tell you, I got all my little grannies. I got some grandmas that we're taking care of, and they are on the carotenoid complex more than just the one that we get in our little package. They actually take 3 or 4 a day. And another thing that Sweet Gabby told me about, and it's amazing, is that when you get a cold and you have that little tickle, if you chew up one of those carotenoids, it just coats your throat. And so not only is it boosting immunity, but it also takes away the crud. So it's a very powerful product, and it's great. So I love it.
Patty, you know what blew my mind about the carotenoid complex is it helps dogs, it helps animals. And it blew my mind when I heard, because we had a dog that had cancer, that we just kept, pumping those nutrients, and it helped. Nicole shared that with me. I feel like I'm taking all the credit, but go ahead, Nicole.
I have lots of stories where we've helped dogs with the carotenoid complex. I had a dog that was going into major eye surgery, had to have this eye surgery or was going to go blind. So we gave this dog high amounts of carotenoid complex, and the lady called me, the owner, crying, thanking me, saying, this dog doesn't even have to go to surgery. The eyes are better. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And even the omega-3, I've heard people giving that to their dogs for inflammation because it's been helping them and makes their coat shiny. And then what is the story that I saw one of the ladies telling, that they were giving the dog omega-3 who had a low sperm count because he was what are those dogs called that they put him out to breed? Was a breed dog? Yeah. And so it raised his sperm count. So I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yes, and we've helped a dog with major seizures by putting them on salmon oil, and the seizures went away. Yeah.
That's craziness. That's awesome. So we've talked about, let's see, three of the things that are actually in our little pack, which is so funny again, because this is not a list that I made of stuff that we need to be eating. This is the list that was done by the Cleveland Clinic saying that we need to eat these things. And this are things that we just happen to be already adding to our diet. So the last one that they said needed to be added to our diet was a quality protein, which totally makes sense. But they said a quality protein, not just protein. They said a quality protein that is, I feel like I'm making it up because it's so funny that we're already doing this, but it is amino acids. It needs to be high biological value, and it needs to have a good digestible value. So Nicole's going to tell you about the protein that we have that is amazing.
Yes, our protein is amazing. So yeah, protein is so important, especially when you're going through the premenopause and menopause. You need protein to make new cells or repair damaged cells. It's the building blocks of cell repair. So extremely important. And a lot of women don't realize how important it is during, the age 40. I guess it could be younger, but once you hit 40, your metabolism starts to slow down, and things just get worse. And so protein also helps with hormones, helps balance hormones, believe it or not. And we know that it helps with hair, skin, nails, bones, which is really important too as you're aging, and helps with the sex hormone, which is also great when you're going through premenopause, menopause. It also helps with cholesterol and your nerves, which, that was something I didn't realize when I started researching protein, when I first got on, a protein shake to supplement, because I knew I wasn't getting enough protein in my diet. I think what a lot of people don't realize is you need all 22 amino acids. It's extremely important, and you can't find that in a chicken, egg, beef, almonds. And what I love about, the protein shake I take, it has all 22 amino acids. It has all those building blocks. So it can repair, my cells. And also, one thing I learned that I didn't know in the beginning too, when I first started taking, the protein shake that I'm taking now, is it also helps with immunity. Well, no wonder I haven't been sick in 19 years. I changed my diet 20 years ago and started supplementing. But that first year, it took a while. I had some major health issues. That's probably why. And my body was probably focusing on that. But so I did get sick, that first year, but very minor stuff. And then after that, I have not been sick. Well, it, just makes sense because I'm giving my body all the nutrients that you talked about previously, or the other ladies, and then plus the protein shake. Another thing is weight gain. We tend to gain weight when we're going through the change, right? And it's harder to lose weight. We gain a lot in the middle. It's important to exercise and all that. But another reason why the protein shake is so important, because it has the branched chain amino acids. So it holds on to muscle, but will burn the fat. So I take now 2 protein shakes a day, and I love it. Gives me the energy I need. It also has a high digestibility score. They call it a PDCAAS score. So that stands for protein digestibility amino acid, correct amino acid score. There you go. And it's a 1.73. Ours is a 1.73. And I love that. And you can't find that. I've never found I've taken, a lot of different protein shakes in the past, and I have never found one that's highly digestible like that. And that's extremely important because you want to be able to digest the protein so it actually works, right? The other thing that it has is the glycemic control technology. So it helps stabilize blood sugar levels, which is also important. So you can burn the fat. And it helps you be less moody, when you're going through the change, because you're feeling good. It helps, keeps those blood sugar levels up. I don't know about you, but if, my blood sugar levels aren't stabilized, I'm very moody. It's beyond organic, non-GMO, all those things are important. It doesn't have artificial sweeteners in it, no warning labels on the back. No hydrogenated fats, which I love, no high fructose corn syrup, saturated fats, preservatives, and all that fun stuff. So it's extremely, extremely important when you're going through premenopause, menopause, to have a high quality protein. There's so much hype on other proteins out there, like collagen is a big one right now. But for me, I could never take that because it doesn't come from the human food chain. And that's something that I try to focus on, is putting back in my diet everything that comes from the human food chain. A lot of people don't realize, that comes from connective tissues, like kind of grosses me out, but hides and bones and stuff. So we're not meant to, maybe our ancestors did, the Indians, ate hides and bones and stuff. But so for me, it just makes sense. And I have seen, over the course of 20 years of what good nutrition can do, when it's put back in the diet. So.
Well, and I think just looking at you is a good thing, what good nutrition can do, because, you're adorable. And I'm like, oh, yeah. It shows on you that you've had good nutrition for all these years, Nicole, and just like it's amazing. The protein that we have is, like Nicole said, in the form of a shake, and it is like the dream protein because it's everything that you're looking for and it's everything that you need, and it's like you said, the amino acids that when we get to be this age, our body stops producing those 9 essential amino acids, and ta-da, here we go, it's complete. So
Exactly.
it's amazing that we have these things right at our fingertips, and God's garden. I love that, Jen.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to keep saying that. God's garden has just
I love it too.
exciting.
I was going to add too, Nicole, one of the things that I think a common misunderstanding too is that a lot of people think that, oh, I want a protein shake that has 40 grams of protein in one scoop. And and I'm guilty of that too. I've tried it all, and so what I realize now is that it doesn't really matter how much protein is in it, as long as you're getting all the 22 amino acids. And of course, at this stage of my life, I'm desperate.
Yeah.
I had actually a doctor's appointment yesterday, and I had to postpone it because of COVID stuff. But I will say this, when I go, I want to make sure that I get my levels and I figure out what it is that I'm, because I feel like if I'm not getting that, that right amount of protein, as far as like going through this menopause, I feel like it's imperative that people understand the amino acid part of it and not so much the protein. Like I used to think, because we've heard Atkins high protein diet, we think that's what we need, and that's not what we need. What I've learned in the last 2 weeks is major as far as the collagen. If you're getting all 22 amino acids, you're producing the collagen. And when women go through menopause, the biggest thing that's affected is our tissue and our bone structure. Mm-hmm. So getting a good vitamin C, like a super C, and making sure that we have that, like, I just think it's key. And I wouldn't have known that again. I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't been so desperate and asking questions like, what can I do? Because I don't want to go to the doctors and have them say, hey, take this will help you, take this. I don't want the narcotics anymore. I don't want the synthetic drugs. So I love Nicole, hearing Nicole talk about that protein, because we need it.
Mm-hmm. And
and
metabolically balanced, which Hattie was so sweet to spend some time with me the other day talking about how important it is, not just to high protein, which I've seen that in my husband lately, losing weight, because he did keto and he never was able to lose weight like he has now, that everything is metabolically balanced. The ratio for protein and carbs and fat and healthy fats and stuff like that. So I just like, okay, seriously, we really are talking about menopause health. It feels like we've gotten off into this nutrition thing, but that's exactly what the studies are saying that you need, is the best thing that you need to do to get through menopause without having all of the craziness. Like, this is the best way to get through it, to give your body the best chance to survive, if you would, menopause, and come out on the other side. And of course, we're not telling you you're not going to have any menopausal symptoms, because that's silliness. It's silliness to think that you're going to go to the doctor and get a prescription and you're not going to have any menopausal symptoms either. But this is the best natural way that we found to get through the craziness of menopause, which we're all going to face in one way or another, unless God comes and takes us home before we have to go through the nasty series of menopause. So we're crazy blessed. And I'm going to throw this in there because I think that it's funny. And my husband was like, you have got to tell that, which some of us ladies might be like, don't tell that information. But the husbands will appreciate this. One of the symptoms of menopause, as we're going through, as we talked about earlier, was vaginal dryness and discomfort during sex. And that's because our estrogen level is dropping. And so that's why we need to try to get other things in there to help that raise up again. But one of the best ways to get over that is to be more frequent. And my husband was like, woo, because the stimulation when you're more frequent helps to keep your vaginal walls from thinning because it's being used. So the frequency is up and you don't have to worry about it thinning so much. So, I mean, I know that's probably one of those things that's like, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. But I just think it's important for us to talk about it because again, it's not one of those things that's going to make us feel like we're going crazy. It's a natural thing that happens to all of us and we just need to be prepared to deal with it. So,
well, let me chime in if I can. I will tell you this. I've never had an issue. I've never had an issue with that. But obviously drinking a lot of water, no matter what we do, is huge, is a big deal. But one of my longtime dear best friends, we got sober together. She stayed sober. I didn't for the longest time. And so of course, naturally, I'm going to say to her, hey, I want you to try, these whole food supplements, whatever. And she did tell me 5 months ago, she said, hey, you can share this. Cause how do you share this in front of men? How do you share, without it sound, there is a medical term for it. And golly, gee, I wish I had it written down, but she did tell me this when she started getting these whole food nutrients. She said, I will say, because she described it and she said, and please forgive me for being so graphic, and she will not mind me saying this, but she said it was like razor blades, just that discomfort. But one of the things she did tell me, she said, I will say this. She said, the pH balance and just all of that in her body completely changed. And she is one person that I saw go through. I mean, she felt like she was going through menopause for 11 years, but that was one of the biggest things. I mean, y'all, to the point that she cried to me. We cried, like we sat in her car and she prayed. She's like, I thought something was wrong with me. Like I didn't want to, be intimate with my husband that I've been married to for 32 years. She said, because it was just so painful. But as soon as she was getting these nutrients, and she's like, Jen, I don't know how you can share this kind of story. She's like, but feel free to share it with all your girlfriends, whatever. But anyways, we need to find the medical term for it because it's real. It's true. Yeah. I mean, although I've not experienced it, to hear someone else say that, hey, this changed it, these whole grain concentrates, the protein changing, making sure you have a balance of everything, the collagen, all that. To hear her say that, I was like, gosh, that's enough in itself to change our diet, But
it's true. And reading through that and learning about that situation too, one of the things that they said that could actually help specifically in that department was taking more vitamin E. I think that's hilarious because we have an amazing vitamin E plus that I was just looking through my little thing right here. And I'm like, I don't know. We're so blessed to be able to have all these things at our fingertips. And I just started taking vitamin E because it also says it helps with a youthful looking skin appearance. And, as we get to be older in our ages, I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to try to hold on as long as I can going through all this craziness. So,
I think it adds to Nicole's glow too.
Yes. Thank you very much.
It's true. Honest to God, when we met them, my husband said their skin glows. And I thought, I want that same glow. And it's not just, I believe it's a lot of things. It's, it's the Holy Spirit and whole food nutrients, but it's true, it's like giving your cells a drink of water,
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's awesome. And as I'm going back and I'm looking over my notes that I had here, I'm thinking of all of the things that the nutrition that we just talked about in us has helped with. Hot flashes, the night sweats, the difficulty sleeping, the emotional changes, the dry skin, like there's the headaches, the joint and muscle aches, the difficulty concentrating, like the weight gain, the hair loss, the thinning. There's so many people that I've talked to in our it's not little, in our humongous circle of people and in our healthy living community that have just received relief on those symptoms on their own from whole food nutrition, that it's incredible to think that something as, I hate to use the word simple, but something as simple as whole food nutrition can help us get through menopause and in one piece, if you would, without losing our minds completely. That and our whole food nutrition, having a community of people that we can talk to, and just, I mean, having each other, I think, is crazy important to that. So with that, if anyone is looking for whole food nutrition, please, by all means, go out and do your homework, but always try to make sure that your whole food nutrition meets the 5 key criteria that you're looking for when you look for whole food nutrition. If you're interested in learning more about what the 5 key criteria is, reach out to, one of the people that you may know if you're watching this recording later, and they can definitely tell you about that. And whatever you're looking for, no matter where you're buying your supplements, you've got to make sure that it meets the 5 key criteria of that, to make sure you're actually getting human food chain nutrition into your body, and not from other natural sources like, those other ones that we were talking about, algae and stuff like that. It's not a natural food source for us. So the bottom line with menopause is that it's linked to changes in our metabolism, reduced bone density, and increased risk of heart disease. And whole foods diets rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, high quality protein will help reduce menopause symptoms, and phytoestrogens and healthy fats such as omega-3 rich fish can help as well. And the simple changes in our diet can help make our life a lot better, even through menopause. So does anybody have any last thoughts before we go ahead and wrap it up? And
I do. I have a burning desire. I've always loved cooked cabbage, but a dear, dear sweet friend of mine told me that cooked cabbage is really good for us women. So eat cooked cabbage. I don't know. I wish more people in my family liked it. I love it.
Yeah, and you can
a
drink
little-
drink the juice. That if someone's well, we don't get sick in our household, but if you do, you get a sore throat. Drink the juice from after you boil it, and it will help soothe it, and it will help your immune system. It's cruciferous vegetable, so it's nice. Yeah.
I need to know these things. I'm like,
wait, so you boil the cabbage before you? That's how you? Because
you eat the cabbage too, but you could drink it. Very healthy to drink the cabbage juice. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I love you guys teaching me so much stuff.
Yeah, and real salt is what we use for salt. You don't process salt, because we were talking about salt earlier, but real salt with minerals.
That's what it's called, is real salt?
Yeah, real salt. Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
You can buy it online, right, Nick?
Amazon, good old Amazon.
Yeah.
I love Amazon. Awesome. All right.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for being real with us and being open, and just telling us your thoughts about this. And honestly, I know I've said it a million times during this call probably, but just, you're not alone. You're not alone going through menopause, and you don't have to suffer. Just first thing that we would really recommend is just working on your nutrition and making sure you're getting all of the essentials into your body, the amino acids and the vitamins and the minerals and the healthy fats and high quality protein into your body. And hopefully that'll help ease some of the pains that you're going through. And I just thank everybody who's on the call today. Thank you so much. I don't think there was any questions that we didn't address. It looks like we did. And there's a lot of people suffering from a lot of these symptoms. And I just hope that we, give you some relief. And like I said, we don't get sick overnight, so we can't expect to get better overnight. We need to give our body some time to process through things. So a lot of people just get discouraged right away and they're done. But I just encourage you not to. Hold on. It's okay. If you need a group of people to connect with, just reach out. We can get you in our group of people, and it's fabulous. So with that, thank you. Go ahead, Hattie.
Stacey, thank you for putting this together, because I would have benefited from this if I had been Elizabeth's age hearing about this stuff. And, a lot of the things that I experienced really could have been combated by just having good nutrition starting when you're young and you don't think you need it, and, having babies takes a toll on your life. And you know, I even think about the tumor, like maybe that was there because it probably was. I mean, usually dysfunctions with our bodies happen because we're not feeding our bodies correctly. And so anyways, I'm super thankful. To be honest with you, it was a pretty short order that I felt different. I was old when I started, older when I started on the product. I think I was 54, 54 already. But God, it's wonderful not to wake up in a pool of sweat and to sleep through the night. That was huge. It was amazing. And so anyway, thank you for doing that, for putting.
Thank you. Of course. Thank you guys for being on, and thank you for saying that, because yeah, I mean, sometimes it does take us longer, but sometimes not. Like when I started taking the Treanin, like 2 days, I haven't had a hot flash since I started taking it, and it's been like 4 or 5, maybe 6 months. And within 2 days, they were gone. And so like, I'm like, woo, hallelujah. Those are killers. So
I have a
anyways,
question,
ladies,
Stacey.
yes, go
You're
for it.
you're gonna record this so we can share, because I have a few women that couldn't get on that want to watch this, that are having, you know, issues with menopause, premenopause. So I would love to share.
It
Good.
is being recorded, and
Good.
I will hopefully have it up tonight and be able to send out the recording to everybody, and just so hopefully they can grab some valuable information.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it so much. This was
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us. And I just hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, and be blessed. And we'll catch you next time on the next Girl Talk. We'll make sure you know what our next topic is. Thank you, Sylvia. All right. Bye, guys. Have a good one. See you next time.
Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.